Hey everybody, my name is Matthew Lundeen. I am joined here by...
Colin Steele.
A.k.a. Frank Ventrelli
A.k.a. Frank Ventrelli sometimes.
As well as...
my alter ego.
Michael Murgia.
And this is... I almost called it something different. This is the Critical Spectrum. I think this is episode 19, I believe.
Were you about to say the weeknight bite again?
No, I was actually about to say something different. That's related to something I wanted to talk about for the beginning of this episode. So we usually record these like Thursdays or Fridays. The episodes always come out on Mondays, and I noticed something when I was looking at my schedule. And on Monday, the 24th of May, 2021, when this comes out, it will mark the 3rd anniversary of the passing of a creator who meant a lot to me. And I just wanted to say a couple of words about them. There was a man named John Peter Bain, who was born in July 8th, 1984 in Spennymoor, United Kingdom. And he is pretty much one of the biggest inspirations to me as a creator. When I first started watching a lot of his content, he went by the name TotalBiscuit or Total Halibut. He was also known as the Cynical Brit. He is still to this day regarded as like the number one PC gaming critic on YouTube. Although I think there might be some other folks who have kind of taken up where he left off, but he's still kind of remained one of the biggest names in that field and had a lot of influence and did a lot for the community in terms of shouting out and giving coverage to a lot of indie developers and indie games that otherwise would have kind of been overlooked in the AAA market. And in a world where in the PC gaming landscape, there's a lot of indie developers, especially with a marketplace like Steam. A lot of people who have more modest development studios that are able to get their games out there. And he really kind of changed the landscape when it came to reporting on PC gaming, and still to this day is remembered greatly for having been such a well-spoken advocate for games as an art form, games as an industry. And I always loved hearing his insights. And part of me, when I got into high school, I never really knew what I wanted to do with myself. I never really knew what my aspirations were going to be. I thought I was just going to end up going into illustration like a lot of my family. But it was when I started the Weeknight Bite with these guys that I thought about a lot of my experience and a lot of my joy talking about media and talking about games and movies. And it was that moment where I realized that I've always looked up to people who were critics and who were these sort of arbiters of, industries and art forms. And it was the moment where I realized, I can make a living. I can make this my thing that I do for people. And one of the most painful things about losing John was that I never got to meet them in person. I never got to tell them what they meant to me. And so I think I just wanted to take this time to say, thank you, John. Thank you for what you did. And to all the people who have creators that mean that much more to them, be thankful for, the content that you have to remember them by. Be thankful for what they've given you, be it just some laughs or some insights. And now that heart-to-heart is over, I think we can get started with the show at large. I just want I know I saw the date was coming up, and I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
That was a lovely message, Matt.
Thank you. And now I'm going to toss it over to Colin Steele because he's been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oh man. Let me.
I've been so
You know it's gonna be a great review when it starts with
So Valhalla, right, came out with a DLC recently called Wrath of the Druids. So I've been texting these guys throughout my time playing, and they've kind of seen the journey I've been through with my opinion on this DLC.
It's wild, right? It's an odyssey. One would call it an Assassin's Creed odyssey.
an odyssey to Valhalla.
So this is how well it went. It's gonna be a whole story, by the way. So I was gonna play it. Night of it came out, right? I had the season pass because I'm a shill, and
He already had it. He already had
He's
season
honest.
pass like fucking ready
oh
to
yeah,
go.
of course. So I was like, oh sick, I'm gonna fucking download this. It'll be great. Fucking, they somehow messed up the release so you could buy it individually, but they somehow messed up having the store register that the DLC was included in the season pass.
So basically, you paid early for no reason.
Basically, yes. So look, Ubisoft has gotten a lot of shit over the years. Oh, that's my phone. Has gotten a lot of shit over the years. But part of me honestly believes that this was on purpose, so people who are impatient paid twice for the damn thing.
Did you pay it?
No.
Okay, good. I thought you were about to tell me that, like, oh yeah, I paid for it.
Look, I'm a shill for Assassin's Creed, but I'm not that much of a shill.
Remains to be seen.
So that was already strike one. I had to wait till the next day for them to fix that. So that was an oof.
That's one Mrs. Chen.
That's one Mrs. Chen. Anyone who saw our last episode will get that joke. So I started it. I actually got to start it. It was fine. It was just like, oh, your cousin's gotta help your cousin in Ireland, right?
In Ireland.
That's my best Irish accent. Sorry, Ireland.
Well, that was terrible. That's more Scottish.
I'd say that's Scottish.
That's
Scottish.
If I do mine, mine's just gonna sound awful. So I'm not gonna try it.
Rewind like 2 years ago. If I tried to do a Scottish accent, it would just sound Irish. Now I try to do an Irish accent, it sounds Scottish. What the hell?
You can't win. I'm sorry. There's no winning that.
So basically, the premise of this DLC is like, oh, you gotta get the High King of Ireland to unite like all the areas of Ireland under his name and stuff.
Dope.
And he's Christian, so you can see where that causes trouble.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. So then there's there's this organization called the Children of Danu, or the Druids, the old faith of Ireland. There's we don't want this Christian shit in our land.
Get this Christian shit out of here.
So that's the whole premise.
Druids.
Think of that as basically just their weird Irish excuse as Templars, essentially, but not Christian.
Wait, so the Druids are the Templars? Or
Essentially, they're not. They aren't Templars, but they're essentially that. They're basically.
Oh yeah, but are they like kind of related to them, or
no?
Okay, just so they're not. Because I was gonna say, like, usually Templars in the series, like they try to control that Christianity right away.
Technically, the Templars don't exist yet in Valhalla.
Oh
but
yeah,
they hold the Order of the Age.
Oh right,
which are
yeah.
basically Templars.
Well, it was like pre-Crusades, or
isn't technically like the Assassins? Aren't the Assassins?
They're called the Hidden Ones, but they're essentially the same.
Oh, yeah, because Valhalla takes place before the
right,
Crusades, right?
Yeah,
It takes place before.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
because I believe the first Crusade technically was in like the 1100s. I could be wrong on that.
The Order of the Ancients is actually pretty cool. I mean, as a villain concept. I mean, it's just the Templars again, but they have like cool masks.
Yeah, that's true.
We're the Templars.
But no,
We got
see,
cool
what's
man.
weird is that Origins, I believe, is it was Odyssey that tried to do a different thing by calling them like the Children of Cosmos or some bullshit.
Oh yeah, so children.
Wasn't it that Origins was like the beginning, but then they went farther back?
Yeah, which is weird.
It was weird.
I don't know.
We have the Origins.
But again,
however, there's other Origins.
That's
to
the
those
team
origins.
that's the team who made Phoenix Rising, and you knew they wanted to make Phoenix Rising,
But
they were forced to make Odyssey.
Yeah, probably.
Speaking of which, apparently there's been workplace harassment allegations at Ubisoft for years. For years, and they haven't gotten any better, but we're not going to get into that.
And over the last year especially, like, they haven't really done much to like curb that as well as
CEO
they could.
stepped down at one point or something.
Yeah,
was it Yves Guillemot?
Was it Yves Guillemot?
No, maybe. I don't know.
I don't even know
Or,
who the guy
I think
is.
he made a statement. Yves Guillemot.
Oh.
He's the guy who's he's that charming like old guy who always comes out on stage during E3 and be like, these games are great. That sounds more German.
You're just not on.
I was
You're
gonna
not-
say it
you're
was
not on
French
track.
These
really.
games are great. That's more
That's
French.
close. That's
Yeah,
closer. Yeah. So anyway,
No J. Michael Tatum, all right? I can't do this as well.
so you get to Ireland. I'll give them this. The environment's freaking beautiful. They did a great job
See,
on the
I feel like you have to
environments.
stop giving them that because all of their games are always beautiful
Yeah.
environments at this
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Like it's just
Oh,
expected.
I mean, true, but
like I can't take that as a plus anymore because I expect it. Because if it's not there, now I'm going to be like, that's
Yeah.
a doc.
It's true because it is worth mentioning because I think Ubisoft has this incredible talent. Like every world that they make always feels lived in. Like you look at Watch Dogs 2, like it's incredible. It's immaculate.
Watch Dogs 2 better than Legion. Just
Oh, I
saying.
wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the level of detail in that world is incredible.
Yeah.
Even like, I mean, I know some people like to be like, oh man, you can't even, like, if you shoot the water, nothing happens in, like, Watch Dogs 1. But, like, Watch Dogs 1 still is a very, like, aside from the mountains outside of Chicago, like, it's a very, like, beautiful depiction of, like, a kind of, like, near future Chicago.
I mean, yeah, that's all physics. So I mean, it doesn't really. I feel like that personally doesn't go into environment more for me.
Well, yeah, but also like art design, you know, you if you walk through like the slums of like Chicago and then like look up through like the gaps in the freeway above and see like the skyscrapers, like there's some really beautiful views
Yeah, no.
in a lot of their games.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's, I was just saying more of like to the point of where people are like, oh, if you shoot the water, it doesn't like
Right.
the environment's dumb because that's physics. That's not the same as like an
Fish
actual.
AI.
The fish move.
Fish move.
Oh yeah, we're referencing when they announced Call of Duty Ghosts and tried so hard to make that look like it was like this is pushing forward graphics. Like no, it's not. It looks worse than Modern Warfare 3, and
That's
Modern
why I
Warfare
never
3
played
looked
it.
fine.
No.
But like they were just like when you swim, the fish they'll move out of the way. You mean like in Super Mario?
Like long ass time ago. Fish move.
Fish move.
The two suns.
So wait. Now you have to tell me, do the fish move in
I
this?
don't think there
DLC?
are
Can you even
fish.
swim underwater?
You
Another-
can. No, you can't. I
Another
just
Miss Chen.
there.
doc.
There might be fish. I just never took a notice because I didn't care.
Right.
Probably because they were moving out of the way.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
They're moving out of the way before you even got in the water.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's how
Hide.
advanced that AI is.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful environments. The
Mhm.
story is like, it basically kicks off with you going to the coronation of this high king, right? And then there's this poetess character named Kira that whoever they got to say, because she is a
Death Note.
sure.
Oh yeah. Right.
Whoever, and then the poetess sings like this beautiful Celtic song. Whoever sings that song,
Isn't it Celtic?
yeah, well, Celtic, Celtic,
Right.
whatever,
Yeah, close enough.
interchangeable, really.
There's gonna be somebody out there like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Istanbul, Constantine.
So beautiful. I was like, oh, I'm feeling this because it's the Celtic vibes, right?
Celtic.
But then they're getting to they're like, oh, you gotta go get the loyalty of the other kings of Ireland to fall into the High King, right? And they're like, I was like, oh, cool. They're gonna have little mini story arcs. And this is when I texted these guys, fucking this. I want a refund. I want a goddamn
It was literally
refund.
like a whole fucking paragraph.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Because from what I recall you saying, you basically that in the base game of Valhalla, there's like side mission. There's like kind of these side missions of like.
Well,
Is it similar to like AC2 where like you go to a pigeon coop and get a contract to kill people?
it's basically that, but a lot of the side missions in the base game you can think of kind of like Red Dead, like side, like roadside
they usually
sort
had
of
some
deals.
kind of like something to it at least.
Right. So like more
Yeah.
like dialogue or like this feeling that there was more thought put into it than just go here and kill this guy.
Yeah, basically. So
Okay.
basically, you got whoever has played Skyrim will know what a Radiant quest is. It's essentially go to this random location, kill some people, or grab this object. Basically, an infinite quest. Essentially,
Yeah.
you can complete it numerous times. basically they're like, oh, do these 3 radiant quests to gain the loyalty of this king. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
So when you do the quest, did it actually like have story? It was literally just go do it and you got it.
Okay, so it was go do these 3 random objectives essentially, and then you got a few story missions. I'll give them that.
Okay.
So, but when you did those other quests, it didn't give you anything to the story. It just
No, it was literally just go fucking murder these guys.
Okay, so murder those guys, and then I'm guessing that. So you murder those guys, and then does that happen like 3 times with each king? Or
you have to do 3 of those kinds of quests essentially,
right?
And then it's like an actual story,
right?
Little
and then there'll be a mission where you meet like because it's basically you going around in these different regions, meeting these different kings and getting them to be loyal, like gaining their loyalty.
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
So basically, I was like, "Are you kidding me? I paid however much for radiant quests." And then I was like, oh god, there's gotta be more to this. So I pushed through it, and there was more to it, but I'm convinced they just couldn't think of anything else to put to fill in that space of time.
That's what I'm saying. They're probably just like, well, we feel weird charging them this much for like an hour worth of story. Let's just like throw in some random ass quests.
Yeah.
And just, have them just do. And honestly, that's my issue with the newer Assassin's Creed. It's just a lot of busy work.
Yeah.
And honestly, they just throw in a shit ton of busy work. Just like, dude, look at all these collectibles you can get. They're not really going to do anything overall, but you can get them.
Yeah, right?
That's like, I feel like half of the AC world. That's kind of why I stopped playing Valhalla, because at first I was like, yeah, I totally want to play it and like, maybe try to like just gather all the stuff. And then I realized I'm at this point, I'm literally just playing it just to gather these things.
Yeah, basically.
But wouldn't you say that was kind of like some of the appeal of like Black Flag as well? With that game, there was a lot of traveling, and it wasn't always like immediately clear like that like it was advancing the story, but it was advancing the power fantasy, which was in AC and in Black Flag it was amassing power and growing your pirate colony, whereas in like Valhalla it's like we're going to make Vikings strong.
See,
it's like I guess you could think of it like that, but I feel like Black Flag had more of a role play element.
I'll say they executed it better than if they were trying to do the same overall like feel like that. Well, Black Flag executed it way better.
So like the reward of that power fantasy, the feeling like a pirate was
actually getting the fucking gold, like because the travel in that was just so good overall that like the traveling in Valhalla is only like I'm wading through a bunch of snow to go get this piece of gear that I'm not going to use.
So you didn't so like when you because for me a game like that, travel and like exploration is going to be a big thing for me,
right?
And I mean, so like, how would you just like? Do you think the exploration in Valhalla is like entertaining?
No, because I don't use the long ship 95% of the time.
But what about traversal like on ground through the beautiful vistas they've created?
I mean, that's just pretty.
Yeah, but even then, like, it loses its vanity after a while. Like, you're just like, oh, that's cool, and then like you're like, okay, now I'm just running through this really big field for a while. Just to go to this little location and shoot this cursed object.
See, you're not wrong. The difference between Black Flag and Valhalla, though, is because Black Flag, you can, like, choose which, like, ships you take down and rob and shit. While Valhalla, you have very certain points you can raid, which, I mean, it makes sense, because, I mean, there's only so many monasteries and priests you can bully. But, I mean, I don't know. It was more of a checklist thing in the end, But
I think I'm withholding judgment only because I haven't played it, and also two because I think I might be missing like narrative context as well, like because how the narrative frames, like how narrative gives like incentive was going to play a big role in how
you're not going to like how they do it.
Well, it's essentially sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I mean it's essentially going off the more historical side of why Vikings bullied England was that. You couldn't grow shit in Norway or Sweden or anything, so they just were like, sick, look at all this green land, let's take it over.
Yeah, but they didn't really like even explain that really in Valhalla.
I mean, they kind of did. They were like, Norway sucks, why let's move here?
Well, they said like I feel like, at least maybe it's just what I played, but like so far I feel like it wasn't, like what you're saying, like, oh, like giving you like a story reason or narrative reason to raid. It was just kind of more like, you're a Viking, so you raid things.
Yeah. Well, it's to build up your settlement, but at the same time, it's like...
It doesn't really feel like narratively that was like part of like what I need to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that was just like an extra side shit. They just really mentioned like, oh, since you're a Viking, you naturally raid things, so like just go raid those side things.
That makes sense.
I also feel like I really felt this in this DLC, because you know how in Odyssey they just had that like tree of cultists they would just randomly take out. I think that's where the franchise has lost its a bit of an appeal for me, is because it's put less impact on each kill. Like each kill
like
isn't fleshed. Yeah, each assassination isn't like the character of who you're assassinating isn't fleshed out. It's just this random dude. Well, sure, there's a paragraph it gives you on who it is. I'm like, I don't give a shit to read this.
They give you a paragraph, and then like when you actually get to them and kill them, they say like 3 lines, and then you're like, good, you're dead.
They have like the major targets, and then they'll have a bunch of the smaller level, and it's on a growing scale. And you know where they got that from? It's clear as day. They got it from like Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor. They got that because, but obviously they didn't go as far as the Nemesis system, because the Nemesis system was genius.
I fucking love the Nemesis system. So cool.
The Nemesis system is one of those.
Really like either need to do something more with that or let other companies use it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Shadow of Mordor already I played some of Shadow of War and it's a little bit different, but like it's very clearly like they looked at the mechanics for because Warner Brothers Montreal clearly looked at the time that they did Batman. And they were like, let's use this fighting system in another game where you can cut orcs' heads off or Urukai's heads off, and it was great. But that system was great because even when it was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go kill this general, they have a character. It was auto randomly generated. There was all kinds of dialogue, and each person that you went after and killed like felt like they had like a story there.
And then when you killed them, they could come back. They could come back. Scars.
They could defy death. They could come back later and just be like more mutilated. And then it's like, oh no, not them again.
My favorite is when they actually kill you, and then they get stronger, and then you're like, and then level up to kill that. Bastard.
And then time passes, and then some of the people who like some of the spots that were empty on that like get filled with new people.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously like Odyssey and like the newer Assassin's Creed games haven't gone that far. I remember Origins, they had a smaller list of targets, and then halfway through the game that list grew as Bayek found out more about like the order.
That's also why I like Origins over Valhalla, because Valhalla, it's just like, there's these 2 hidden one dudes. Here's a list of people to kill. Eivor never has an emotional connection of.
He doesn't really even ask.
No,
he's just kind of like, you want me to help you kill these guys?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has no emotional connection, while Bayek does, because they fucking killed his son, essentially.
And this is what I'm talking about, narrative incentive. When I saw the first cutscene, I still get chills thinking about that first cutscene in Origins where he catches the knife in the mask and then shoves the mask on that guy. It's like, it's great. You so quickly establish like, okay, this guy's a badass. He wants revenge for his son. It's going to be amazing. And then even Odyssey, they take like, that really is like in a video game form. It really feels like they wanted to make a story that was very similar to Homer's Odyssey, because they have the long drawn out opening. You're on that island, and then you meet Barnabas. You get on the boat, and then you decide like, okay, we're gonna go on this journey. Hey, who's that guy? And then you get the flashback, and you're like, oh shit, that's my father. Boom, title card, incentive, and I was immediately like, I'm sold. I'm in it for the long haul.
Well, I'm in it to win it.
I'll give it that they model the stories after whatever culture they're replicating, because they replicated the Valhalla story off of the Icelandic sagas, which are very, very short stories that are just compiled together, which was one of my main issues with the game, was that it didn't feel interconnected, which...
Yeah, that's why I kind of dropped off, is because I feel like a lot of it's kind of like, it's not really connected.
I've never read the Icelandic sagas, but not to shit on the Icelandic sagas, but just because they're old doesn't mean they're good.
No, I mean, that's kind of like a lot of, like, even just books in general. Like, sometimes, like, like, when you go to English and they're like, this really old book is a classic. We must read it. It's the best book ever in the world. It's like, just because it's old and it maybe was good at one point does not mean that like holds true to the test.
No, right.
I hated Romeo and Juliet, but I loved the Odyssey. Odyssey was pretty
I liked
great.
Hamlet, actually.
It's the best payoff to any book ever.
I have been slayed. Woe is me. I love Hamlet.
Well, Hamlet's great. Did you ever see the David Tennant version?
Parts of it, only because of our main man, Wes.
Well, also, like, I just remember I don't know if you remember Patrick Stewart's character. Like he like David Tennant hands him the poison. And it's like drink the poison, and he literally shrugs and it's like, and then drinks it. It was hilarious. Oh man, get thee to a nunnery. I love that.
I pushed past the Radiant Quest, right?
Yeah, going back to that.
It's pretty good. It was pretty good.
Actually, it got good after that?
Well, no, it's conflicting feelings.
Is it
here.
good just because like you want it to be good? Or,
yeah, you're right. Well, because in the end,
good?
the story missions are literally just like go take this fort. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
so it's not good. I lied. Let me take what I said.
But what you're saying is the story that was there was good.
It had the potential.
Hold on.
To be good.
As a story, the story was good.
It had the potential to be good.
Oh, so the story even wasn't that good.
But he was so quick to immediately, even though he went back on it, he was so quick to be like, yeah, it was good. I think you had more fun with this than you're letting on.
Okay, but see, this is what I mean by the potential to be good. Also, can I just say, the most recent Assassin's Creed have a terrible trend of... You can clearly tell who the ultimate bad guy is going to be.
Yeah.
Spoilers for anyone who's going to play, because I don't know why you would, but like the arch abbot or the priest of the king, he has way too good of hair. You know it's him.
You're like, your hair's too good. You're fucking evil.
He's too good looking. You know it's fucking him.
Did you think that the villain in Odyssey was easy to predict?
Oh, the second I got any descriptor of who she is, I guessed it. It was immediate.
Okay. Oh, like in the
clue section.
No, that's true, because they show their model and then a mask over the face, but like you kind of I agree with you.
But see, I've complained about this on the show before, but Valhalla does it worse. Is that the targets don't even have a mask; they're just silhouetted. So if you just get closer to the TV, you can tell who it is.
Well, also because you said they have great hair, that hair is pretty recognizable.
Yeah, but see, this DLC tries to get into the complexity of the Christianization of like Ireland and stuff like that, which is a really interesting concept to me, because Kira is like part of the old religion of Ireland and all that, and she's like, oh, don't we gotta all live in harmony, you can't force Christianity on people, which in the end the king tries to do, and she goes to like an old Druid monument, which spoilers is a first Civ thing, and she goes all ape shit on you as a boss battle. But that's part of the thing that I really wanted Valhalla to explore more, was the Christianization of the Vikings, which it didn't. It was like, we're not going to touch that.
You know, when I think about the older Assassin's Creed games, because I do feel like after a while, I stopped falling in love as much with the history. Like when I think back to like the Ezio trilogy, you know, there's so many characters I remember, and especially the ones that are historical figures. Like Da Vinci is great. Da Vinci is, you know, like he's Ezio's bro. Like they're like besties. And then, you know, he works with fucking Niccolo Machiavelli. He like he just like, they have all these historical figures who like play a huge role in the story, and you're playing through these major events that feel. And I mean, with the Italian Renaissance, it was just the Renaissance, and not like it's not like Assassin's Creed 3 where like you're flying through a major event in history like the American Revolution. And even there, they made characters like...
You're trying to say the Renaissance isn't as major as the American Revolution?
I'm saying that like the Renaissance as an era is like that's
a very long span of time.
That's a long span of time that is like, you know, it's... I remember that for like the aesthetics, like, oh, it's the Renaissance. But there are... I can't immediately off the top of my head think of like major moments that like are depicted within the Ezio trilogy that are like
world changing,
or like notable like events or battles. There are some, definitely, but it's not like Assassin's Creed 3 where like it really is an event and those characters are memorable because you are interacting with historical figures who have been made.
Assassin's Creed 3 was so good.
Was it?
It was pretty good, man.
I will say the actor knew how to be angry, but other than that emotion, he didn't really know how to do it.
Yeah, but like I don't know, I really enjoyed the whole American Revolution thing with the tomahawk going around too. Like
the tomahawk was cool. That stuff was cool. It's
when
just
they introduced the trees.
Dude, I love the Battle of Bunker Hill. That was dope.
Which one was that?
The one where you basically had to run from cover to cover, and then
the full synchronization for that was fucking stupid.
Right?
Yeah, it was.
It was like, don't get hit by anything, but running cover to cover is like, I would like be completely out of the way of any fire, and all of a sudden I just randomly get hurt. I'm like, what the fuck?
Was that the one where you air assassinate the guy on the horse?
Yeah.
Okay, that was cool. The only problem was that like they really marketed the battle part of it, and there was really only like one major battle.
Was, like, the only
there was oh god, my American history teacher is gonna hate me because I can't remember this.
It doesn't matter. She was impressed anyway. You knew everything during that class, and almost annoyed her with how often you got the answers right.
Were we in the same?
No, you were in another class because you had Capri, and I was jealous.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Hey, Capri.
Oh, fuck.
Miss you.
I can't remember this very crucial battle, the American Revolutionary War. Fuck.
I don't know.
Shit. It's really good with a C. No. Oh, I'll remember it later. But
he'll randomly remember it like 2 weeks from now on another podcast. Be like, wait a second.
You remember how like there was always the NPCs, like there was a scaling to the difficulty of the enemies in 3, and like the toughest enemies on the British side were these like German Jaegers.
Yeah. And
then the toughest enemies on like if you were to attack the Americans were these French soldiers. I don't remember what their names were. And yeah, I will say Assassin's Creed 3, I love most of it because of the potential of what could have been. It could have been an amazing game. I just think there was too many things that were holding it back.
Exactly, much like Wrath of the Druids.
Exactly. Like the lawn build-up that takes way too goddamn long, despite great performances. Or...
Yeah, the build-up was a little much.
Oh, it was just... I remember that. Much.
That was a little much.
And there was also like... I think it was a game that was too packed. There were so many things that you could tell they didn't have enough time to like... Like, there was a crafting system in there. But no, there was... But you can only really access it. You can only really access it from the homestead. And you know what? I will say this: the homestead is the most impressive feat of like game design I've ever seen that nobody paid attention to. That I literally walked by to the people who were at Connor's homestead, and there was a literal like animation thing that I just stumbled upon. No dialogue, no nothing, but like it was two of the people there after they'd gotten married, getting told by the doc, like they found out that they were having a baby, and it was like them like freaking out, getting excited. And I was like, there's so much detail in the animations here. There's a full animation. I think one of the game designers on Twitter talked about it, how there was a uninterrupted animation of a guy like skinning like an animal that he had hunted.
Yeah,
and it was just so much detail. Excruciating amount of detail, but you could totally miss it if you weren't looking for it. And that's not a bad thing, that's a great thing. It's just that Assassin's Creed 3 might be one of the biggest games that has ever been made, really conceptually, and the number of things that they put in. It's just that some of those things could have been made stronger.
Yeah, I feel like if they had more time, because I think that was back when Ubisoft was like cranking them out every year.
Yeah,
right?
every year.
Yeah, if they give it 2 years, I feel like Assassin's Creed might have been one of the best ones.
Well, see, that's the thing they're doing now, but they're...
Well, that's because they've already changed the Assassin's Creed formula so much at this point.
That and also the Ubisoft's approach to like releasing games has changed entirely. So, like, I saw recently, changing it from one developer to another, Rockstar Games. You look at the roadmap of how many games they're releasing every year over the years. As soon as they discovered microtransactions, they changed completely. It's like they released like Red Dead, then Max Payne 3, then GTA 5, and then as soon as GTA 5 happened, it just like years went by
until Red Dead 2.
Yeah, that was like a little like 7 years.
Yeah.
But one thing I really want to praise about Assassin's Creed 3. The combat system, I think, had the beginnings of what could have been the best combat.
Well, I was saying, if they give it another year, like that combat, like just the animations in that, and that's what I really miss. I always go back to that, the animations and like the kill animations, everything in 3 and Black Flag. I think after that, it kind of started to fall off.
Syndicate is the best in my opinion.
Syndicate has good ones, but to me, it's still like that was like when they were transitioning towards the Origins animation style. Like it was like a weird middle ground. Like some of them looked really old style. Like that's like, well, actually Unity too. That's a really good one. But Syndicate was like more of like, you're still like the Assassin's Creed like original kind of ones, but then they kind of were slowly going towards less realistic and more towards like the RPG-ish. So that's where it kind of got me like 50-50. Like, it's really good, and some of them are really good, but then I'm kind of like, on some.
So Colin's onto something, because I think that in Syndicate, it was really good. Early level, like when you don't have a lot of the upgrades, the combat's actually hard. It's difficult. Yeah. It's more difficult than any other Assassin's Creed combat system, except for maybe like one.
I don't know. Unity actually was kind of hard in the beginning.
That was actually difficult too, as well. But for me, I like the stylized, almost ridiculous nature of the combat in Syndicate so much.
See, that's what I don't like. I'm the opposite. I like the ridiculousness, but to like a realistic level. Like Unity had some like crazy like animations, but it was like a very more grounded.
Eevee like fucking baseball swinging a knife from one dude's head into another guy's head.
That's kind of cool. But
you can like slash a dude with a kukri and then throw the kukri into a guy into the wall, and then
it's amazing.
See, that's cool. Stuff like that's cool. It's just sometimes how they do it looks too gamey to me. Whereas like they went from like something like Unity, which was
that's fair, because
the animations are so beautiful in Unity. I just really wish they had longer to work on it, because that would have been like a fucking amazing game.
That is a good point, because in Syndicate there is this thing where it's like by the time that they're near dead, they should have been long dead. They've been stabbed so many times. But here's the problem with Unity. With Syndicate, it's two things. One, they added a leveling system. Fuck that shit. Everyone should scale with the player. But also the other thing, when my second playthrough recently, I had to intentionally not unlock certain upgrades because it would make things too easy. And that's the thing. I didn't want to lose that feeling of like, if I miss one counter, like that's a chunk of health, like real gone. Like,
well, that's what I really liked about Unity, because even later on in Unity, it was the same thing. If you missed a counter or something, you're kind of oof.
That's good. That's a good point.
But it was also like, if you got used to the counting system, you probably were going to be okay.
And also, again, there was a leveling. I liked Assassin's Creed back when there wasn't a leveling system. And here's the thing with 3. The problem with 3's combat was that someone pointed this out in an essay that I saw on YouTube, where it's like, if you attack someone, they don't have a health bar. In fact, the enemy dying isn't linked to how many times they're hit. It's linked to whether you can complete an animation chain.
Yeah.
No. If you stop trying to hit them, there's not going to die. You have to keep hitting the attack button to finish an animation chain. I feel like they should have had a health bar, and I feel like there should have been kind of like there were certain things they could have done to have perfected it. As it is, it was great because you could have a secondary. There was a button specifically to use a secondary in combat. The attack button, the disarm, the break defense, and then the counter. And the counter, you once you hit that, there's a slow motion window, and then any of those 4 buttons can be used for either a throw, a disarm, like an extra like a kill, or like a critical hit, or like using the secondary. And if they just worked on that, maybe not having as many instant kills, maybe having tougher enemies with more health, maybe buffing the lowest tier of enemy.
Generally what they should have did is, because in 3, I know exactly what you're talking about, they should have just had the enemy actually defend more.
Yeah,
because it was way too easy. Like even when they do defend, you could really just hit break defense, and it was like then you just continue killing them.
Something that like the Batman Arkham games would do is like and all enemies have basically, I like to consider it 2 health bars. When you knock them down once, they go down on the ground, and then they're like, oh shit, and then they stand back up. That's what they did in
Valhalla. They took the stamina system from like Sekiro and put it in there.
Oh, nice. Well, wasn't there also like a thing where when you have like a bow, you can target weak points?
Yeah.
That looked cool. That looked really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I will say that added some nice variety to the combat, I'd say, in Valhalla.
I would actually really like to play Valhalla to check out the combat, because it does look pretty fun. Oh my god, someone sent me a lot of messages. Going
from the story, had great potential. Would have been really cool to see him going more into the depths of the religious conversion of the country. Didn't really do that. It was kind of a half-assed side story, really, when it should have been the main story. They tried to make it the main thing, but really wasn't.
How much are they actually charging for that, too?
A stupid amount standalone.
Like $40?
Yeah.
That's bull.
Yeah.
Oh my god, $40?
Mm-hmm.
That's basically like,
I think
it's like the fucking game.
Yeah, basically
close to it.
Yeah, Now to the combat real quick, because they added a new weapon type, the sickle, which is pretty dope.
Oh.
But they messed up the animation chain. Because, which I'm sure will be fixed eventually, but I'm not going to care. Where it's like you're slashing them, and then Eivor doesn't step forward enough to continue the chain on the person, so you miss them.
Nice.
Halfway through the chain.
I like it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And they promised there'd be one-handed swords. It's a goddamn lie.
It's a sickle, though.
It's not
it's
in it.
Close enough.
Oh, it's a sickle.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me in Unity, they had, in their heavy weapons section, they had this Japanese weapon that was like it was like a two-handed weapon. Is it?
Yeah.
But it was like, it was like a katana.
Odachi?
Yeah, but with like the long handle. But the animation was just the one for a battle axe, so the blade wouldn't even enter their body. And I was like, I never want to use this piece of crap again.
I thought it was like more like an Odachi.
I thought it was a falchion, but
maybe.
Falchion doesn't sound Japanese though. That's the only
I don't
thing.
think it was Japanese.
Is it not Japanese? It looked really Japanese.
I don't remember, but I mean, an Odachi is Japanese, so that's why I was like, I don't know if that is.
Might have been an
May have
Odachi.
been an Odachi. I don't know. There could be
I always
both
used
in
the
there.
katana, and I
Odachi,
also
not
played
Odachi,
Unity with the
something.
Japanese dub on.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah, well, I played some of it with the Japanese dub on. When I played Dead Kings, I only played it with the Japanese.
Man, could you imagine if Unity, like, if they actually gave it more time?
Dude, Unity would have been great.
If they actually, like, if they literally developed it a little bit longer, kind of ironed out a lot of the issues, and just made the story a little bit better, and online a little bit better.
Made Arno less of a simp.
Yeah. And just, like, the biggest thing is if they made the online better, that was, like, I think that was, like, peak Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is
Just
another...
being able to assassinate 4 people at a time with 4 friends.
Yeah.
Like, synchronized. That was fucking dope.
You know what's stupid is that Unity is the only game that lets you throw a smoke bomb to a designated place and lets you do shit.
Yeah, instead of just throw it at myself.
Also, it's the only Assassin's Creed game I think
I'm here, now I'm not.
It's the only Assassin's Creed game that's allowed you to equip 2 gadgets at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to
Unity
throw down smoke bombs
great.
and use like something like the Phantom Blade or something like that. Like that to me is the biggest sign of and they got rid of that in Syndicate.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they I feel like Unity could have been the peak of Assassin's Creed if they really worked on it. Like that would have been a great culmination of all the best things.
I love Elise's and Arno's relationship.
Yeah,
That's the best part of that story. I mean, it's this toxic relationship that is just like it slowly is killing both of them because of their contrasting desires, and it's great. I love tragic stories like that. But the thing is, with Unity, I will say this: Unity is the most beautiful game that Ubisoft has ever made.
Yeah. Oh no. For sure.
Oh, I'd have to contest that. Valhalla is pretty damn good.
The design of Paris,
I just feel like the design
the
and
meticulous.
everything. And again, when it comes down to, for me, the animations and Unity made me feel the most like an assassin.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The actual, the parkouring up, parkouring down, all of the assassination, literally the running without losing momentum, slicing the guy's throat and just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
That was like...
They fucked the parkour after Syndicate.
That's what I'm saying.
But the world design, the way that the meticulous, excruciating detail they put into designing Paris, like that,
and the outfits and everything too. Like it was like the assassins, like almost like the Frenchman garbs with the hood and everything. Like it was fucking beautiful.
The most amazing costumes they've ever designed, and I mean it was. Listen, this says volumes. It was the design, the art quality and art design was so good that when Notre Dame burned, they used they used Unity to help because
it was a 1-to-1 scale. Yeah,
it was 1-to-1.
And like another thing too is if you think about it, I don't know if you guys have paid attention to like NPCs in the world, but I think Unity had the most like crowd-based physics. Like you were literally like, wading through crowds and shit, assassinate somebody just walking back through it. Like that is like peak Assassin's Creed to me. Well, it's like when you do a lot of that stuff.
Patrice Désilets, the guy who made the franchise, he left after Brotherhood.
He went to make that game about apes.
I actually enjoyed that game. It's pretty fun.
Germa played it and said it was one of the worst games he's ever played.
What was that? Humankind.
The Humankind Odyssey. He was like, why is everything the A button?
But he was saying, he basically said, why Assassin's Creed sucks nowadays? Because they don't put effort into crowds anymore, which I could see.
No, yeah. Literally, I feel like Unity was the last good Assassin's Creed, crowd assassinations and stuff like that. Like it was a lot of NPC. It was a lot of like NPC. Like that was a big thing they were saying. It's like, the NPCs actually have like their own thing, and all the crowds and stuff like that was like a big thing with that. So I don't know. It was just, I miss it. I want them to like remaster it, make it like a definitive edition, and then like branch off and have like 2 different Assassin's Creed.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna finish up my final thoughts on Wrath of the Druids.
No, now we're talking about we're too deep into it, bro.
Too deep. Combat, sickle swords, they'll probably fix that at some point. Fucking, they had werewolves.
What?
That's a fucking thing, apparently. So
this is what I'm saying. Assassin's Creed is dead. This is just a whole new game franchise. Call it something different.
Yeah, basically. So like in the Druid locations, right, they have this fog, right, that makes you see shit. And
so you're just seeing
basically werewolves. But the combat against the werewolves is actually pretty damn fun. Like they move really fast and jump and shit.
You know they're gonna make like a werewolf game.
Yeah, right.
Did they ever come out with that pirate game? Like
no.
Right? The bones and
Skull and Bones.
And everybody's like, why don't I just play Black Flag?
I was about to say it's Black Flag, but without
also it had competition.
Else.
It had competition from like Sea of Thieves as well.
Sea of Thieves is a great game.
Sea of Thieves is a great game.
And then Sea of Thieves
anymore now.
I was about to say it was free, but it wasn't. I mean, it's technically free if
you
already pay for Game Pass.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Shit, what was I saying?
Werewolves.
Werewolves.
Can you fuck a werewolf?
No, unfortunately not.
0 mischens out of 10 can't fuck a werewolf.
Because I know they've added gay sex ever since Odyssey, so like I was like,
you're like, do they have bestiality yet?
No.
Hey, is the male voice actor for Eivor good?
I like him more than the female voice actress.
That's good.
Yeah, he's
that's good because
good.
Here's the thing: I would have loved to have played Alexios, except Cassandra's objectively better.
Oh, Cassandra's so much better.
I totally played it.
Alexios' voice actor was not the best, and he was, because at a certain point, when regardless of which person you pick, the other person enters the story at a later time. Alexios, his voice actor was so much better for the role that he was given in Cassandra's version of the story.
Yeah. Final thoughts. One other combat thing. There's a boss fight at the end of the game. It's kind of optional, but to get like a legendary Irish spear.
Oh, I thought it was a shield. I saw some a shield or some shit.
No. It's called the Gay Bolug. Anyone who's played Monster Hunter will know that shit.
You mean anybody who's played Final Fantasy?
I'm in the Final Fantasy Insect Glaive, but yes.
I was saying,
which I didn't.
They took that from Final Fantasy.
Which I didn't know was an Irish myth thing. But the boss fight that was fucking cool was like this giant, like gangly, like deer-headed skull dude with a blue fire sword and shit.
Honestly, that's kind of what lost me on the other ones. I don't want to go back to that.
Right.
I'm gonna let you finish it up, but like part of it was like with Origins and like the like big gods that you're fighting and shit. Part of me was like,
I never even did.
Well, that's only. Wait, is that? I think that's only in the DLC.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I swear it was.
That's only in Curse of the Pharaohs.
Well, still.
I think I got it because I'm trying to remember how. Did I? I don't think I bought the gold edition of Odyssey, but I still. No, because I didn't. I think I got Odyssey. No, I got Origins, and then I think I bought the Hidden Ones DLC because you told me to. I don't think I finished it.
Oh, it's so good.
Odyssey, I bought the gold edition because I had 2 Best Buy gift cards. I was able to buy the gold edition Steelbook on PS4 and play the shit out of that. And that had all the DLC. Still haven't finished it though. I was gonna save the good one, the one with like the first assassin DLC. I was going to save that for last and do the one. And then but I never finished. I never finished the one with the gods because I heard that one wasn't that great.
That's literally what happens.
It's pretty good
with a lot of DLCs, or like just stories in general. I'll be like, oh, I want to save that for last because I know it's going to be really cool. And then
I got so close to the ending too.
I know you don't like Origins that much, Michael, but technically it lets you only play the Hidden Ones DLC if you want to.
Oh.
It lets you skip to that. I'm just saying.
Really?
I think you'd like that. I'd think
maybe I'll just play it. Honestly, I'll probably just watch somebody else play it.
That's fair.
Like, I'd still down to animations and stuff that I'm just kind of like,
Yeah, that's fair.
That was pretty fun. And the bows were really cool in Origins. The bow mechanics.
Yeah. Head drop.
There was like
shit.
3 different versions. There was like a shotgun bow, the long range one, the first person one.
The mechanics were cool, but I don't know, man. It's a conversation for a different podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. But
turns out we have a lot to say about Assassin's Creed.
Of course, every time.
Here I came thinking I wasn't going to say a word.
This boss fight felt half finished. It felt like a dark. It could have been a really cool, like it had a very Dark Souls-esque boss fight feel.
This is Deer Head Flamesword.
Deer Hair, right? Yeah, okay. And but it felt really unfinished. Like he had some cool moves, but I was expecting like fucking explosions and shit. But it was kind of lame. He was just kind of swinging his sword lazily about.
See, that's the issue with current Assassin's Creed and trying to be mystical but not. Is that like they don't know which way to like. Do we go fully into the mysticism, or do we just like they kind of look mystic, but like they're just normal people still?
Yeah,
like they don't know which way they want to go.
So overall, I would say
3 mischins out of 7.
Don't get it.
Oof.
Don't get it. It had the potential. It had a cool story. It had the potential of a cool story. Gameplay kind of sucked. I'll be honest. It's just going to 4 killing shit.
See, and that's what I was afraid of. Is that like you were gonna say it's basically just gonna be like basically just filler the DLC?
No, yeah, that's essentially what it is. And there were apparently a lot of people thought, because people data mined it, and they're like, oh, they're going to give us Basim's outfit in this DLC.
And they never did?
Nope.
Bruh.
And so people even data mined it, and they're like, it's in here. I'm like, no, it's not.
It's probably because they probably data mined it. It probably is in there, but you probably have to pay for it.
Oh, yeah, people have modded it in. It's in there. It's there.
It's probably going to be like, either they're going to put it out for people to buy.
Oh, people will be pissed, because that...
They might.
That's the Hidden Ones outfit that should have been in it instead of fucking Green Jester Man.
I was gonna say Green Jester
Fuck.
Man.
Look up the Hidden Ones outfit in Valhalla. It's fucking terrible. I hate it.
I'm looking it up right now.
So the point is, what Khan's trying to say is that if you already bought it, if you haven't played it for 2 hours on Xbox, you can return it. Just return it.
Return the DLC. The game's pretty good.
Yeah.
But the DLC don't get it. Solid 4 out of 10.
Was it this one?
Yes. Hate it.
Yeah, let me see it.
Doesn't look terrible.
Hate it.
Wait. Let me see that. Let me see that.
I like the bits of gold and green. What do you think about it, Michael?
I kind of like the little like wolf-looking pelt on the top.
I mean, every armor set has that.
I would say every
well, then at least it's consistent.
One also,
I like the gauntlets.
Also, one good thing about this DLC is it adds some cool historical armor sets, like the Byzantine and the Rus armor sets. Sorry. One last negative
This is what it looks like
rant.
from the back.
I hate that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hate it. I like the Thor armor.
Yeah.
Wait, why do you hate the? Is it the?
It looks
coattails?
more gestury from the back.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, really?
Plus the hood. I don't know. I don't like the hood how it looks. Never mind. Anyways, continue.
One last negative thing about this DLC was that they had an armor set called the Iberian armor, which is like, this is fucking sick. It's gonna be like an Islamic inspired like armor set. Nope, they fucking stole this armor set from an armor set in Origins called the Persian armor.
Oh yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah,
I was like, pissed. No way.
I was pissed. So
you're paying for old armor sets and
Radiant quests
and Radiant quests.
Fetch quests. 4 out of 10. That's my final
4
thoughts.
mischins out of 10.
4, yes, exactly. Don't buy it. I want a refund, but I can't because I played it too long. Should we go to break, boys?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt, what's wrong?
Oh God, Colin, I had a terrible nightmare that our critically acclaimed podcast, The Critical Spectrum, wasn't getting any listeners.
Matthew, that would never happen.
How can you be so sure?
Because, you silly goose, we're using Anchor. Anchor is a free podcast publishing service with tools to create, upload, and edit your own podcast from your computer, phone, or tablet. You want to know the best part? It will publish your episodes on all major podcast sites, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
Yeah, I know that. We host a show together, dude.
And that's not all, my dear Matthew. You can make money using Anchor with no minimum listenership required.
Hey, come to think of it, what are you doing in my house?
Oh, I'm robbing you.
What? Hey, get back here! Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
We're back. Okay, so next up on the list of the critical spectrum, I also want to apologize to our audience because I might sound dead because I got my second COVID shot yesterday, so I'm dying a little bit. But woo, COVID. But Matt has a small segment he wanted to talk about, a little manga he's been reading real quick.
Yeah, I saw an ad about it on Twitter, and it's the fastest I've ever bought something ever. I saw there was like a post on Twitter that was like from someone I follow talking about a manga that was new, the first volume of what I believe is a 2-volume story. It started as like a webcomic and then it was compiled into a full like paperback volume. It's a manga called I Think Our Son Is Gay. It's by a mangaka named Okura, I believe is what their name is.
Okay, legitimate question.
Yes,
is this
Okura.
like something like, oh fuck, like like how parents approach the question with their children or something like that?
I think, it's not like that's like the MO of the story, but I think that it's definitely it's a feel good manga, I think.
Yeah.
It's about this is a little synopsis. So Tomoko is a mother taking care of 2 boys, older brother named Hiroki and a younger brother named Yuri. And their father is always like off on business trips. So it's just the 3 of them typically. And the story is told from the mother's perspective, Tomoko, as she starts to find out and come to the conclusion that her son is gay. And so the whole story is like mostly from her perspective. As a mother, we get to see mostly like his, her perspective of him during his high school years, but occasionally we'll get these flashbacks to when he was younger, as like she starts to kind of think about other moments like when he was a kid, and starts to kind of like, it all kind of starts to click into place, and it's like, oh yeah, I think my son is gay. And it's just a really, it's just a super cute story, and so much of it is because so much of my reason for enjoying it and just the reason it put a huge smile on my face the whole time I was reading it, because I got it and I literally like just finished it in a day, which isn't too surprising since considering the size of it.
Let's say it's relatively not thick.
Yeah, and also it's
thin is the word I was looking for.
And also a lot of the stories are really short stories. Like you can tell that this is the type of thing that would be released like as like a web series.
Yeah, because when I was looking, I was just kind of flipping through it right now. I saw like a few like intermission almost like pages where it kind of like ends.
Yeah, where it's just like the title.
Yeah,
and then it goes on.
And like it goes on. Yeah.
But Hiroki, the boy who like the older brother who is gay, is just like, it was so relatable. Like reading through the whole thing. And it was even better seeing it from another person's perspective, because like I've talked about with you guys in the past that like, before I'd even like really accepted to myself that I was gay, I think there were a lot of people that already kind of knew based from talking to me, like they got the impression that I was gay. And that's like half of the amusement after coming out of the closet, is figuring out
the battle.
Truly. It's just he has this like flustered nature about him whenever he like lets something slip about his interest in men, and he's a terrible liar, and I'm a terrible liar for the most part. So the story being told from the mom's perspective is perfect because it gives me kind of like an insight and makes me wonder like what my mom might have been thinking, over the years through middle school and high school, like, and then like what might have been going through her head, because I'll admit, when I came out to my parents, they didn't seem surprised at all. They were very supportive, but I've said in the past, the night before I came out to them, they were out to dinner. I think maybe they were celebrating their anniversary, and they were talking, and they remembered an earlier time in middle school when I was suffering a lot of anxiety and stress because of like this fear of like bullying, and I think I was worried about that because I was starting to come to the conclusion that I was gay, and I hadn't accepted it, and I wouldn't until I was in high school. But at that time, I'd been telling my parents, like, I'm really worried that I might be gay. And they were talking about that at dinner together. And they're like, do you think he might be? And I was like, I mean, I guess he'll tell us when he's ready. Next morning, I woke up and I had accepted it to myself, but I suddenly had this sinking feeling in my chest, like, I haven't told anyone. Like, nobody knows. Like, I don't know if this was before I had even, like officially confirmed it with you guys. But because I think it was like the beginning of junior year.
No, you told me before.
But we didn't do this radio show until junior year. So like that was the first time that I had like come out to anyone with like officially was when I told my parents. And so I told each of them individually. My sister was the most surprised. She was in Savannah at the time. I told her and she was like, what? And she was like, she was totally thrown for a loop. It was funny because her roommate Courtney at the time, which must have just been studying, and I was on a Skype call with my sister, and then suddenly I dropped that bombshell, and Courtney like was in like on the other side of the room, just shocked expression, just like so like, oh my god, I'm witnessing like a Lifetime original movie moment here, and she was completely blindsided. All of her friends knew way before she did. That was the funniest part. But yeah, getting back to the story, like that, the part of that, like a lot of these experiences made his story so relatable to me because it just the way he got flustered, the way that the way he was sensitive, and also the fact that his personality and his particular interests in men feel a lot similar to me, and it feels a lot more relatable to me than other mainstream depictions of like gay men. So that was just really refreshing to me in this story. But like beyond the stuff that's purely relatable to me, it's such a heartwarming story, and is filled with so many little funny moments that'll just like make your day. You can read it in like small bursts, and it's just really harmless entertainment. But it also like at some chapters will just be like the really funny stuff, like, oh, that's just so cute and so heartwarming, and other times. The most interesting parts were when they introduced the father and have him like return from like business trips or something like that, because it's clear that like he has certain certain views that he kind of imposes on or has imposed on his children over the years, or like he has a certain perspective that makes it difficult for Hiroki to like come out of the closet, or like makes him feel like he wouldn't be accepted if he came out of the closet. And it's interesting seeing how the mother engages in conversations with him and tries to kind of gently nudge them in a direction to kind of be more open-minded, in hopes that eventually, because the story isn't really finished. I don't know if it's going to have a big conclusion, but it's just super nice seeing this, story from the mother's perspective and getting that nuanced take, because I think that if the story wasn't told from her perspective, it wouldn't be as special. Because when they do flashbacks to when Hiroki was like really young, you get this idea that a lot of these ideas that tell children to like avoid acting a certain way, a lot of them are really learned. I think a lot of children who are like non-straight have I think they're already kind of like very like open, and they're optimistic about a lot of things, and maybe they'll be like, oh, I love this person or I love that person, and a lot of times you'll see, you can probably foresee a lot of scenarios in your mind where maybe a parent tells someone like, oh, you can't do that. And maybe it's because they themselves believe that it's wrong, but other times maybe it's just because they're afraid of, judgment or bullying because of just what, a society tells people to be. And it's really important, I think, for a story like this to kind of come out and say, like, no, like, that's only going to do more harm than good, because it's going to prevent your child from really being themselves and being who they are. I mean, I know for a fact that if I talked about it a little bit in our review of Falcon and Winter Soldier, about how like, I feel like I didn't have like gay role models, and I especially didn't have people like telling me that it was okay to be gay and that, you know, that he was even like something that, you know, existed. And then I think that this story, you know, this manga is super heartwarming, and, you know, whether you just like the story and just want to read something that makes you just happy, it's great. And if you are part of the LGBT community, or if you know someone or are related to someone, I think it's a really interesting piece of fiction to reflect on. I think it's an absolute must read. I got it on Amazon for like, I think maybe like $9, I think was how I got it. So it's pretty cheap. The first volume is out now. The second one, I saw there's a pre-order for it on Amazon. It should be coming out, I think, in the fall. But yeah, it was a Square Enix published manga, and it's just an absolute delight.
So I should be expecting to see these characters in the next Final Fantasy, correct?
That'd be great.
Kingdom Hearts 4.
Kingdom Hearts 4. It's a much slower chapter in the game, but it's just really cute.
Oh.
And then it turns out like Sora is gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We already knew that.
I think the main protagonist might be gay. That's going to be like the name of the world.
That's what the chapter is called. It's like, well, that's a long name for a world. I'm also very confused. So that's the title of the manga is I Think Our Son is Gay by Okura, Okura, and yeah, check it out.
Nice.
Yeah,
I was gonna say overall it looked interesting. Like I just flipped through it.
Do you want to
like a few seconds,
through it,
but
Colin?
overall, I could see where Matt was coming from. Like the art itself looked very heartwarming. Just like
it's very
more
cute.
of just like an easy kind of chillaxed read. It's not like
and the mother is super cute. If you like mothers and like manga and anime, just like if you love mom characters, like she's the most adorable mom. I really hope actually that did you ever watch the show Nichijou?
That's what it looked like to me. Like the art style
I would be really excited if this got like an adaptation similar to Nichijou, because I think it's super
I feel like
cute.
it probably will. I
Yeah,
feel like
at some point.
If it's obviously if it gains enough traction. I mean, even then, honestly, I feel like a lot of shows are like manga that haven't gained traction. They'll get a show and then it gains traction after that. So who knows?
Yeah.
But
all right. Trying to think of a seamless transition between this and Castlevania, but there's really not one that I can think of.
Speaking of the LGBT, how about that Alucard, right?
Is he gay?
He's bi.
Or is he bi?
Yeah, that threesome.
Dracula said.
That's right.
Dracula said, "I think my son."
Dracula should have read this book. Castlevania
season 4. So yeah,
seamless transmission.
Seamless, yeah.
We didn't know until that first trailer, first and only trailer released, like half a
March or something.
Yeah. Until that point, we had no idea this was going to be the final season.
No, they freaking dropped this on us like right away, which I kind of appreciate when creators do that in a way. They don't have me waiting for
like
a year,
Well, that's just like the Netflix.
Bethesda's like, yeah, the game's gonna come out, and then it comes out, and then it's like buggy as hell, and that fixed it anyways.
Yeah.
But
that's like the Netflix marketing technique, isn't it? Like with Netflix, they'll release their trailer. Like I remember Daredevil season 3. The trailers for that came out like a month or two beforehand.
Yeah, I feel like Netflix, they'll do like mostly like a post first. So like Witcher, like they're like, oh, new season coming soon, and then they're gonna do a trailer, and then it's gonna be like coming out next week or something.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Matt, do you want to go first, or should I?
Oh, you go first. I've been talking a lot.
The joke is I haven't seen it.
For the record, Michael has seen the first season, which is 4 episodes, which was a great start to the season.
Yeah.
Overall, my view on the show as a whole, season 1 is really good and like sets a tone very early on and sets a standard for quality that it would just only seek to escalate upon. Season 2 was great, like double the length. Season 3 took some more narrative leaps and risks that I think, was for the most part good, but the finale I was a little bit mixed on.
Yeah.
But season 4.
Season 4.
Oh boy.
This season I felt like it was just the animation studio fucking flexing on us for most of it,
Yeah.
First episode, I just gotta say, I'll point out a scene where Sypha and Trevor are there's like multiple scenes of them over like a course of a few weeks getting angry at each other, or where they're in a field and Sypha's just like shit, and she's just like, oh, Trevor, you've turned me into someone that says shit, and just is really angry. I love that scene.
Yeah. It's great because when season 3 started, a lot of their story had them in like one place for the majority of the story, but it was a kind of a hinted that they'd been journeying for a while. Yeah. Here we actually get to see more of the journey. Season 3 ended with almost everybody except for like Isaac kind of like feeling sad.
Yeah. Well, it's like season 4. I really like what they did with it, but it felt like a D&D campaign, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, because the animation was great, but some of the dialogue and story elements were a bit. It was masked behind beautiful animation, I would say,
and the quality of the performance.
Well, that too. Well, because like I felt like they didn't do anything with Alucard's big reveal at the end of season 3 where he started staking dudes, you know?
Yeah.
They just kind of left that there and didn't do anything with it.
You know what I think was the thing that I mentioned recently, and I did a written review of it on sakurasunrise.blog. Check it out. I talked about how, you know, they had a lot of great characters added in season 4 in Alucard's story. Alucard's story, I think, was great. And you can know, I was immediately going to say originally, I was originally going to say that I feel like Alucard's story from season 4 should have been expanded, and that should have been his story in season 3 and 4. Like it could have covered both of those.
Right.
But they also have the great Saint Germain, voiced by Bill Nighy, who's added in the story in season 4, and his involvement kind of is like, oh, that's why they couldn't have that in 3.
Can I just say, I fucking love Saint Germain's arc in this season.
Yeah, it's great. Saint Germain was like, he hit the scene, and like, Isaac has always been the best character in the entire like series.
Oh, well, that.
But I mean, by the end, who'd you say is the best?
By the end,
Sypha.
Okay, she's cool
Best
and all,
girl.
but the last 2 seasons...
I don't think I've ever even met her.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, you have.
Oh, was she in the first?
She was the wizard
I watched
girl.
it when it first came out, like
she was
ago,
the hot redheaded wizard chick.
Oh.
Or no, I feel like, I don't know, I kind of like Hector over Isaac, if I'm real.
Really? But Hector's such a simp.
Yeah, but at the same time, okay, this gets to my point. Is like, because when you're first looking at Lenore and Hector's relationship in the beginning of the season, it's just like, why the fuck is he doing what she's telling him, besides the fact that he has that binding ring thing on? But then when you look at it, it's like the reason why they like each other is because they're both master manipulators, because by the end of the season, Hector manipulates the shit out of Lenore.
Yeah, I mean, they're both manipulators, but they are also both, and Lenore more so than Hector for most of their relationship. But also, like, despite the manipulation, they are both people who naturally have a lot of good chemistry with one another. They're both intelligent. Lenore obviously has years of being this like diplomat for the vampires, and so she has every scene together with them, they always have great dialogue and great conversations that aren't even always tied to the plot, but deepen their characters. But for me, Isaac is he's gone on a fucking odyssey across all 3 seasons he's been in. Season 2, he was, he was very much a devotee. He didn't really have, self-actualization. He didn't have a concept of self-worth. He was entirely bound to Dracula. Season 3, he has scene after scene, episode after episode of talking with different humans, different, demons and night creatures, and he gets to see this. He has the most interesting story to me of everybody, because he travels the most places, he learns the most, and then he philosophizes and begins to undergo this metamorphosis that I think is just really beautiful. And the performance by I want to look up the actor who plays him.
I will say the scene where the night creature is like questioning Isaac about what a night creature is was a great scene.
It's great. That's amazing.
Although I will say I didn't fully understand the 180 Isaac did, where he's like, we're gonna rebuild shit, and then he's just like, conquest now, you know.
But I mean, I don't think that was necessarily I mean, with conquest, it's not like you just leave things in ruins. It's conquest to then rebuild as something newer and greater.
He never mentioned anything about taking over anything in the 1, 2, and 3 seasons.
Well, I mean, he wasn't in the first one, but like the second, but that's the thing. In the third, his arc was like he wanted to just kill all humans. He thought of humans as completely just nothing, and then he goes out of his way to. You know, he assembles all the night creatures. He talks to them. He gets their, you know, perspective on things, and then he also talks to that pirate captain who convinces him that, you know, like you've seen the worst of humans, but you've also seen kindness as well, and all of that. You know, even if there wasn't really like a moment where he directly states that he has grown in that sense. I think that this season we start to see him become the person that he, you know, the person that season 3 was building up to, and I think that there's a lot of complicated development there that I think that was absolutely a wonder to watch.
I'll agree with you on that. It's just like overall this season was great. I just felt there were a few story beats that they skipped over or could have done more with, you know,
maybe,
in my opinion. Specifically just the Isaac thing and the Alucard stake thing, really. Maybe.
I was most disappointed with the Trevor and Sypha story for the middle part.
Well, yeah, that's another thing, is that their story didn't feel really tied to the last few episodes. Really.
I mean, they had some great character moments. You had some small moments, but that were meaningful. Sypha kind of, you know, taking a stand, like, no, I'm not just gonna sit here while this town is just fucking shit.
And she's just like, wait, why are you putting the latrines right by where you fucking cook? Get that shit out of there.
And then, but and Belmont obviously has his own, like, he goes on. What I love about the series is that it is not only a great aesthetic adaptation of Castlevania, it is a great spiritual adaptation of the experience of a game like Castlevania, because his entire arc is reconnecting with the past and reconnecting with his family's teachings. This whole season, he's like collecting all the different parts for like a super weapon. He's collecting video game. He's going on a video game treasure hunt.
Well, that's why I meant it felt very D&D campaign. Is that they were just like, let's just find cool shit in piles of gold.
Oh, I loved it.
Like the fucking chakra blade.
Mm-hmm. It was great.
I also like, because the story was like it was a Belmont who went to India and had a guy make it for him, but Sypha asks. Because it's in the shape of like a cross, kind of. But Sypha's like, wait, why would Hindu vampires care about a cross? Which is one of my favorite lines of the season.
And then he explains it, and I was like, I didn't know that about vampires. That's like, because he says like, well, they're an evolved predator species, so their eyesight works differently than ours. So it turns out when you just hold up a giant geometric shape to them, and it like makes them like freak the fuck out.
It confuses them, which I thought was great. It made me laugh.
That was great. And I was like, oh my god, that's actually like, I don't know, like if that carries over into other like Dracula or vampire fiction, like that rule.
Well, because I've always wondered about that. Is like, how do other non-Christian vampires care about? Yeah,
because they also have like Asian vampires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, season 3 had the one that was like the Japanese vampire. It's I don't know. There's some great stuff. It has great character moments. The only thing is, like, once again, like everyone else is doing like really cool shit. Alucard is going around with like Greta, which, by the way, ever since my friend Edo, ever since I tried to get him into watching Castlevania, he's been like, yeah, but I don't know, they cut out one of the main characters from the games. And I was like, who? So there was a character in the games. There, like, one of the main trio. There's Trevor Belmont, obviously. There was Sypha Belnatus, and then there was the pirate character. I think he was a pirate named Grant Dynasty. And I remember there was an interview with like the executive producer. Was like, "Hey, is he going to be in the game?" And he was literally him going like, "Oh wow, nobody's asked me this yet." And he said, he might show up eventually. So Greta from the town
Dynasty.
That was basically their way of fitting them in there.
That's pretty funny.
And so and she's a badass. She's got a sword and a hammer and uses them in tandem.
Oh, I love that.
She was great. She was immediately charismatic. She was as lovable as all the other Castlevania gals, and there are a lot of great gals in Castlevania. I just wish she was in there longer. That's why I wish she was in season 3. I wish that we just ditched that whole plot with those two kids who
fuck them kids.
Yeah. I wish that whole plot had been gotten rid of, and we just had more of like him going around saving saving people.
I know we've already been vaguely spoilery, but this is going to be like major spoilers. Are we now leaving that out?
I mean, it's a recent release. I think we should try to be careful.
Okay,
Just
you'll know what
it's only been like a week.
Yeah.
That's
but I
long
mean,
enough.
this isn't this isn't really a spoiler. But
Coming from somebody who hasn't seen it, that's long enough.
I didn't like what they did with Cockney English vampires. All I'm saying.
Oh, Varney.
Yeah, like what they ended up doing with them. You know what I'm talking about.
It did feel like, it's kind of one of those things where...
It was kind of just like, surprise!
It's kind of, it's one of those things where they do kind of... And they hint at it, they build it up. It's one of those things where, you see the introduction of something. It's like, remember... Well, actually, no, neither of you played it. Never mind.
No.
but in Batman Arkham Knight,
I played it.
You played Arkham Knight?
No. I played some of Arkham something.
Dude, listen, Arkham Knight, they were like, who's the Arkham Knight? Who could he be?
Oh, I know.
But then in that same game, they introduced Jason Todd, and it was like, I wonder who it is. And really, like, because I already knew that, I was like, I mean, I figured it out, but I'm not going to let that completely ruin my enjoyment of the reveal, what it means to the characters involved. It's one of those things. I kind of like suspected like, oh, this person might be this person. But with the way that they did the final like big reveal, it did kind of feel like a last minute like this. You thought this was the final boss, but it's actually this person.
Yeah,
it was actually me, Dio.
That being said, the final like few fight episodes, like the last 2 episodes or whatever, were fucking dope. Yeah, and the ending is very heartwarming,
The last episode is entirely just an epilogue, which I love when any show does that.
Yeah.
Like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood did that.
Full Metal
Alchemist. I think Megalobox also did that some time ago. But like, whenever a show takes an entire episode to do an epilogue, that tells me that they actually give a shit about like bringing things to a close and giving nice closure. I love that shit. And I think they did a really good job of that here. It really did feel like and I want to talk about the animation. I want to talk about the visuals. Powerhouse Animation, they've done some great work. They did a show called Seis Manos, which was like this
I've seen that. I haven't actually seen I've seen
that was also done by Powerhouse Animation. They also did Blood of Zeus, and so they've done stuff that like, different teams working on them, obviously, of varying quality. But I think that director Sam Dietz, and I think that the people that he has working within the animators, from all across the board, just this extremely ludicrously talented group of like web generation animators, like Tam Lu and what's his name? Is it Zach Aguilar? There's some absolutely incredible people working on this show that have made some wonderful animation. They've clearly taken inspiration from a lot of like the very energy focused works of like Japanese sakuga to make something that is it's incredible. It's a wonder to look at. Episode 6, when we think about stories, we tend to be conditioned to think that the end of like a major story arc, they should convene at the very end of a season. But that actually worked not so well in Season 3's favor. In Season 3, all 4 stories were concluding at once.
Yeah.
And if you remember, it kind of felt like janky. Like there'd be like, here's awesome fights, fucking demons getting like cut in half, and then we cut to a sex scene, and I'm like, this is really jarring.
That was very weird. And besides one of the creatures in season 4, that is the only episode with nudity. Only episode. Yeah. Although you do see Hector's dick, I guess, for a slight moment.
Do we?
3. Yeah, it's very slight. It's like a flash.
Of this season?
No, 3.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's slight enough that Matt missed it.
Yeah. It's like it's there. It's very hard to miss, or it's very hard to see. But
maybe I saw it.
I was just looking for it.
It stood out. I mean, it must have been a nice cock. I wouldn't blame him. But with this season, they aren't afraid to be like, no, you know what? I think we've had enough time to like, the writers clearly felt like they had enough time to develop and bring these stories towards a conclusion. And episode 6 takes some of like takes like a few of the major story arcs and brings them to a close all in one episode, which is impressive to me because a 30-minute episode getting that much done and just being that satisfying, scene after scene, just like, oh my god, what's going to happen when these characters meet? What are these characters going to meet at all?
That's one of the things I kind of wish Hector and Isaac met the trio at some point, you know?
That was another thing that I was wondering, like, how they were going to do, but, like, that's the thing. It's like, we have this idea of, like, the stories should intersect and you know, but I think they took more of a Game of Thrones approach to, like, you know, what does the story need to accomplish? Like, what does it need in itself to be a conclusive story? And I think that they looked at, they wanted it to be, they clearly respected the characters and the stories they were going through. And I honestly think that if they tried to contort it in a way, and I'm not saying they couldn't have done this, but if they tried to contort it in a way that they had Isaac, like, meeting up with Trevor and Sypha, it might have felt forced in a sense. And I think of the way they did it, it actually was a lot better, because it showed that they really were serious about taking Castlevania, that simple story of like, we're gonna build the D&D party necessary to kill Dracula, and instead they turned it into a much larger story about the world, about humanity, and about like because humans, you know, the underdogs in this huge fucking war, just coming out of the woodwork and fighting back, and I think that was just wonderful. And you know, speaking of that theme of humans fighting back, I love the way that the villains of this series are written.
Yeah, they really question themselves in the end.
Especially, so Striga and Morana.
Yeah. 2
of my favorite characters in this season specifically. Because in season 3 they were introduced and they were just like, oh, these just like cool like vampire lesbians based. But they but here they actually, they have more, we learn about their philosophies, we see more of their relationship, we get to know their doubts. And they you know, they don't necessarily, I mean, it's not like they love humanity, it's not like they have a redemption arc, but they really do feel like more fleshed out people. They feel like people, and we know why they do the things that they do. And then we get like one of the best fight scenes in the entire series.
I felt the day armor was a bit underused, though, is the thing.
A little bit, but like for its, I mean,
it was cool as hell, but thing about those characters too is that their story was very left open-ended too. Mm-hmm. They're kind of just like, we're gonna go fuck off with our soldiers and just
in 2 episodes, and really just like maybe 2 or 3 scenes, depending on how you want to look at them. They turned 2 characters that I thought were boring and kind of just there into 2 of the most interesting characters on screen. And yeah, like the day armor, like would have been maybe cool to see it used more, but I think that for what the story they were trying to tell, it was just enough. It gave us one of the coolest fights in the show, and then it also gave us like some really powerful character moments. And I think there's this ongoing theme when you have characters like Carmilla or Dracula. They aren't afraid to kind of have the villains question them and be like, you know, I like being in control and having power, and obviously, you know, I'm a vampire, I'm tough shit, but controlling the world,
right,
destroying all of humanity, these are like very unrealistic goals.
Right.
Like even the villains in this series look at those types of large aspirations as self-destructive.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, except for the like big baddies, you know, they're kind of just all for it. But
exactly, and that's why they fail. Well, even all the
that's
time.
True. But even Lenore. Well, I thought going back to the Lenore-Hector relationship real quick is I thought it was really interesting to look at like Lenore's own psyche. She's just like in times of war, there's no need for a diplomat, and she's just kind of bored in the end. You know?
And that's why she talks with Hector a lot. And it's like that 6-week time gap in between seasons, I think, does wonders because I mentioned the review. It's like I was debating whether it was a negative. Like we see Hector at the end of season 3, like you tricked me, you made me your slave, and then here, and obviously there's that undertone of like he's scheming something. He's got more power than he knows, and that's why it's okay that then when he's talking with her, he seems to have like. You know, they're both sassy with one another. He's cracking jokes at her expense. He's also he's totally in on the innuendos to a quite.
They weren't that subtle.
They weren't subtle at all. I mean, it was quite flustering.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that what small issues I have with maybe like the script writing, I think it's all aided by the performances. I will say this, Zamfir, the woman from the Underground Court, is the worst character that's ever been in the show.
Yeah, she's cool, but then she's kind of there and then gone.
She's annoying. And I know that she's written intentionally to be kind of like crazy. Yeah, but I just thought
she's
so
the crazy where she literally goes, I know I'm crazy, but I'm crazy. And then that's literally her character. And that's it.
So a friend of mine, I've watched it twice, the fourth season twice now with once by myself just in a single day and another with a friend. And they mention it's like, you know, I know this is supposed to be like an emotional moment, and then which leads to Sypha doing something cool, but like I just don't really feel anything for some of these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, Sypha, by the way, coolest wizard in fiction.
Oh yeah.
Like
fuck Gandalf.
I'll say, wait a second.
Well, so here's the thing, like when you think of like when you look at like wizard characters in a lot of fiction, like, you know, they aren't always like, you don't always, maybe you describe as a cool or wise, but you don't often think of them as like the fucking badass. Like she's a battle mage. She's using ice.
Doctor Strange is pretty cool.
But even him, but even him, like
they abandoned the martial arts side after his movie.
A little bit.
They have martial arts.
No, he did. He did martial arts and shit.
Kinda. He wasn't the great at it though. No. Like he uses the mad. Like I think him in Infinity War was great because of the creativity with how he used his powers. But my point.
Excuse me, he's a sorcerer.
Yeah, you're right.
Not a wizard.
A sorcerer is just a wizard without a.
Exactly.
Yeah. But like wizard characters in a lot of fiction, I feel like they don't always. You know, we don't always get a lot of like badass wizard characters, and Sypha is a fucking badass. She does with magic the kinds of things that Trevor manages to do with a sword and a whip, and is just as cool, if not cooler.
In a way, though, I feel like
Weasley isn't a badass in Harry Potter.
Well, in a way, I feel like Sypha kind of overshadows Trevor at times too.
Kind of,
at least, yeah.
But I mean that's
absolutely
just another reason why I love her so much.
Well, because she takes down probably 20 dudes while Trevor's still struggling with like 3.
I like when they do that in shows. And
I mean, it's realistic.
It's realistic, and he still does manage to kick ass. Like I mean
true.
I mean, he uses that 4-sided like
chakra blade.
Yeah, cross blade in that penultimate episode. He like cuts through like 15 vampires in a single like spin.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, like it's all about like early on, like obviously the first time we see him, he gets beat up in a bar because he's drunk. But then he levels up literally. He gets the fight in the library in season 2 and does some cool shit, but clearly has a struggle. Season 3, he double whips that like fucking hell demon in one of his coolest moments. And then season 4, it's just like he just can't be stopped.
Yeah, that's true.
As I'm trying to think if there's a story we haven't covered yet.
Yeah,
we talked about Hector. We talked about Isaac. We talked about
Carmilla and those guys.
Alucard's fights, I loved.
Alucard was good.
Him having the Belmont like shield was cool.
That's one thing. Another story beat I think they kind of missed is like it's very minor, but I know it's implied he just found it in the library. But I at least like some scene of him.
Scene of him looking through the armory.
Yeah, like at least a scene of him like getting ready to go to Dynasty, and he's like, "Oh, it's like a shield," and then yeah, I think just a little something,
right?
You know.
That by the way, the shot of him when there's a shot that's like it's like an overhead shot of actually it's more like what's there's a bird's eye view and then there's like what's the opposite? It's like a worm's eye or
I don't know.
Bird's eye view, but like a low angle
and
something like that. It's a low angle shot going past its enemy, and then you see like Alucard flip through the air and fucking bring a shield down on the dude's head. That was animated by Tam Lu. And with compositing and in-betweening done by Adam Dietz, Sam Dietz's brother. Sam Dietz is the director. Adam Dietz is one of the animation directors, I believe. And just made that look so smooth and so great. I really, like, if you have the time, I'm actually going to put a link in the description of the podcast to the sakugoburu.com page for Castlevania. You can see a bunch of, like, audio-less clips from all 4 seasons. There's tags for each season, and you can just like look at each of like the fight scenes and kind of see if they've been able to determine who animated it. A tag with the animator's name on it.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that page is like that site has been used to identify the animators for pretty much anything animated. Like even some American animation, if they've been able to figure out who animated something, they do it for there. But most of it is like anime or anime-adjacent media. There's stuff like from Korean animated works like Legend of Korra.
I just want to know who animated the surprise Pikachu face in Pokemon.
I wonder if that's on there. There might not be.
I thought you were about to like say like spitball off the top of your head. Like, obviously that was.
I should have had better community time. I would have been like Takahiro. But no, I that might not have been a very like Sakuga heavy moment. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I cannot praise the animation enough.
Oh yeah,
and this team,
sure.
And I can't wait to see what they do next.
Well, yeah, because apparently they were in talks of maybe a spin-off, but I don't know what that's gonna. Well, I have an idea, but I can't really say anything without going to major spoilers.
Well,
so.
we know that they're doing a Devil May Cry series. This studio,
and because relating back to our previous topic, Assassin's Creed. Too.
Or they also, or is it them also?
And a Witcher.
And a Witcher, yeah. They're god.
Wait, is all this that same studio?
Yeah,
is it?
I'm pretty sure.
Let me look. Let me make sure.
Same studio. It's pretty good.
Oh, and I just wanted to say one other thing. You know, at the beginning of the show, I talked about the passing of John Peter Bain, TotalBiscuit. There's another passing that happened actually just recently.
No, Berserk Man.
Yeah, so Kentaro Miura was the
I don't remember his name, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the mangaka behind the manga series Berserk, which is it was staggering and really emotional actually looking through Twitter and just seeing almost everybody that I follow was tweeting about it, because in some way, if you were a movie critic, if you were an anime fan, a video game fan, there was something that Berserk like impacted in some way, like the Buster Sword that Cloud Strife has, or like a lot of the aesthetics of something like Monster Hunter, or like, and even the people who worked on Castlevania said like half the people who work on Castlevania the series were inspired in some way by Berserk, and that informed what dark fantasy was to them. And I think that Kentaro Miura, like it's so sad that he's gone, but it's also just so like, it's so beautiful, the legacy that he's left behind, and the amount of people who he's like that he's touched like in his life. And that's so thank you Miura-san. Like, it was amazing work. Everybody who was posting about Berserk, someone pointed out that almost nobody was posting the same screen caps from the manga. There are just that many beautiful moments in the years that manga has been running.
I haven't read any of the manga, but like when I was watching, I think it was the movie or something like that.
Yeah, they had a trilogy.
The trilogy of the movie. That was fucking good.
Yeah, the Golden Age arc. Yeah. So good. I own that. I've been waiting for my dad, because my dad was like, "Hey, I'd like to watch that sometime," because he follows a guy on YouTube named Comic Tropes, and the Berserk is like his favorite comic of all time. And So, I told him, like, I actually have the movie. I only watched the first one. If you'd ever like to watch them at some point, but he's always like, do I want to commit to watching that tonight?
That's how I feel with movies.
I watched all 3 of those, but then when it came down to the anime, it was just so much CG on the anime that I was like, damn, it's kind of killing it.
Also, it's like the 2 good anime adaptations that exist only adapted the Golden Age arc. Everything that comes after the Golden Age arc is that TV series from 2016 that just nobody likes because the animation was so shit.
Yeah.
They should have just gotten the same... people have been ever since you actually can find comments on that the fight from episode 3 with the day armor from Castlevania. People in the comments...
Damon!
Fighter of the Night Man. Sorry about the side tangent. Watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's great. But people in the comments on the Sakugabura page to that animation cut were like, this studio needs to animate Berserk. And if there's anyone that I would like to see work on Berserk, it's Powerhouse Animation.
Oh, for sure.
I think they could do a wonderful job with that shit.
Well, hopefully they'll end up finishing the story because unfortunately he didn't finish it before he passed.
His there was it was so sad. The author for Hajime no Ippo, that's that series.
It sounds familiar. But...
It's the boxing one that Phil always was talking about.
Oh yeah.
That Miura had actually been like an assistant on that manga at one point when it was early in its inception, and I think it was actually like the author for Ippo had been like hanging out with Miura, and Miura like had a notebook, and inside was like his early like concept drawings for Berserk, and it was really emotional, like reading the translation of his comments about Miura and like his friendship. I think he just tweeted out just his name, like Kentaro, just like so sad, just like I can't believe he's gone. And it was just this guy really had just a huge impact on this industry. And I think we're going to start seeing, between this and the conversations about like overwork in the anime industry and manga industry, ever since a popular animator from Studio Mappa left the studio recently because of just it being just a factory and the studio taking on too many projects. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of a push for better working conditions in a lot of these industries.
He was only 54.
He was 54. He had suffered, I think they described it as an acute aortic dissection.
Yeah.
Which is, something that that's something that happens that can happen with extreme stress.
Right.
And I think I think we're going to start seeing a big push for better conditions in these industries, because these artists and I mean, it's lucky that, we I look at the newer generation of producers and directors. I remember there was, from last year, I reviewed the show Fate Grand Order Babylonia. And, despite my opinions on Fate Grand Order as a series and a story, that show was amazing because it was mostly young talent and young directors who normally they'd have to be working in animation, doing like in-between animation for years, doing all the, like, you need to work through the shit before you can even have a chance of directing your own episode. And that was one that had a good schedule, and two, it ended up being one of the most excellently well-produced, best animated shows of the last several years. And I really think that we need to start kind of breaking from the tradition of like the Japanese like work ethic, because it's killing a lot of people who are brilliant. People who have poured their heart and soul into things that have personally affected me on a huge level, and it's like it's hard to enjoy things the same way when you know that there's like that pain going on behind the scenes. And I really want, more than anything, like, the art is amazing and beautiful, but like,
at what cost?
We shouldn't glamour, like, obviously there's the idea of like the starving artist, right? There's the idea of like art resulting from pain, but like people talk about like Hideaki Anno, the guy who directed Evangelion, and how like that depression that he was suffering from was what made a lot of the story of Evangelion. And it's great when people can take those emotions and turn it into great art, because it allows us to see another side of things. But that suffering shouldn't have existed in the first place. If anything, that art exists so that we don't have to see that suffering anymore. And to me, like that there can be a glamorization of that type of suffering that just we can't keep going the way that we're going. Right. And because I love what has come out of Japan in art and film, but it needs to change, or else like I can't foresee myself having the same love for it as I used to.
Right.
And that's another reason why, I'm excited to see the anime as a term and as a medium expand beyond just Japan.
Right.
We're Powerhouse Animation and the work of Sam Dietz and these animators. I think we're starting to see on an international scale people doing animation, creating art like this on better schedules.
Yeah, like SpongeBob. No,
and I can't.
My favorite anime.
Patrick Star, spinoff show.
Husbando, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wait, is there a spinoff show?
There is.
Yeah. Basically, Tom Hildenberg, the main creator, was like, I don't want to do spinoffs because it's probably gonna be terrible. And then he died, and then Nickelodeon's like, we're gonna have like 3 spinoff shows.
Oh God, I hate that.
Like, they're doing like the Rock Bot, or I don't remember what the hell it's called. Then they're doing a Patrick one, and now like a Sandy Cheeks one.
Is it literally gonna be a whole
getting his own?
Is it literally gonna be a whole show about being like I don't understand?
No, I don't think it. Sorry, it wasn't Rock Bot.
Okay.
It was their Camp Coral. Sorry, Camp Coral is what it was called. It's gonna be them like when they were young in like a camp. I don't know if that's a movie or a show.
Awful.
Yeah, they're just. I think that's why he didn't want to do spin-off shows. But yeah, I heard they're doing a Squidward, a Patrick, and a Sandy one. All 3 of them are getting their own spin-off.
Kind of interested in the Squidward one. That could be like the.
It turns into fucking BoJack Horseman.
I was gonna say it'll turn into the Nickelodeon equivalent of Joker.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd actually be kind of great.
That would actually be kind of great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Squidward has always been like low key my favorite character, and then SpongeBob. So like, yeah, I'd be interested.
Well, the more you grow up, the more you realize Squidward is pretty valid here.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, what a grump, and then like you're able like, fuck, I'm a Squidward.
I always like. Here's the thing: I was the kind of person like I always sympathized with characters like Squidward because I was just like, oh man, he's just dealing with a whole lot right now. Like I'd be so annoyed.
To live his life, plays
he just wants to play clarinet. He's not good at it, but at least it makes him happy. Oh boy! So Castlevania, great show. I can't foresee. They could have made this show longer, but I'm kind of glad they didn't.
No, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I personally feel like it should have been half a season longer to explore Alucard's depression a bit more.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's my only major critique, really. So
9 out of 10.
Yeah, 9 out of 10.
9 Miss Chens out of 10.
9 Miss Chens out of 10.
I don't know if not make that.
I don't want that to make that our official rating scale.
Oh shit! I gotta do my bullshit rating scale.
No, you already did the legit.
No.
3 Alucards out of 4 Draculas.
Shit.
Do something with opposite.
Fucking 9 Isaac berries out of. Anyone's watching will get this reference.
What the fuck is
9 Isaac berries out of 10 Isaac limes and lime waters.
Oh, that was lazy.
This will all make sense if you've seen it.
All right, I'm gonna give it 9 Sypha swear words out of 10.
Out of 10 Sypha swear words?
Mm-hmm.
Not as good as lime water, in my opinion.
He squeezes.
Now he's reviewing the rating.
This isn't a spoiler. He has a conversation with someone in his last episode and like cuts a lime in half and squeezes into a glass of water. There you go.
Lime water.
He makes lime water.
Look, is that all you took away from the season?
Yeah, lime water and berries.
Berries.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Critical Spectrum. Before we started this, Michael was like, I don't think I'm gonna have anything to say, and he ended up.
And then Assassin's Creed came in, and I was like, shit, I got a bunch to say.
Shit.
See?
And then when Castlevania came, I was like, I only watched first season. I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah.
But hey, with all this talk about how good season 4 was, do you think you'll give it another shot? Do you think you'll continue it?
I have so much other stuff to watch.
What are you watching right now?
like right now.
Right now.
I'm rewatching all of the Marvel movies with Bella.
That's fair.
And then we're still watching Supernatural because there's 15 fucking seasons.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
okay.
I mean, hey, I'm actually enjoying it. I can't
Okay,
lie,
but
so.
third on that list should be Castlevania.
Third on the list is probably going to be Demon Slayer since I watched the movie and need to continue that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, and then also Attack on Titan, and then also My Hero, and then
Okay, hold on. All right, listen. At this point, My Hero should be something. I think you should shelve that a bit.
I'm passively watching it. Like, I'll wait a few weeks and watch it.
I'm at this point. I'm waiting until the end of the season, and then I'll watch all of it. But for you, okay, so you got the Supernatural. Those are things you're going to be watching intermittently with Bella in your free time. Okay,
now I'm playing Metal Gear Solid.
That's true. I mean, for me, like,
And
you're probably
play Mass Effect.
You're probably like
trying,
me.
yeah.
I don't know.
You know, you're probably like me in a lot of ways. Where like when I'll like the beginning of the year when like the winter anime season was going on, I was covering that. I was on top of it like all the time. This season, it took me like 6 weeks before I actually started watching this season's content of anime because I was playing Control and I was playing what else came out? What other games was I playing? Control, Fallen Order, and then some other stuff. So like I go between anime mode and video game mode.
Yeah, I'm like very much into video game mode right now.
But once you're once you're out of video game mode, it's probably Demon Slayer, and then go right into Attack on Titan.
But you know what else I'm missing?
What?
Sword Art Online Season 3, man.
Okay, so which would you like to watch with me specifically, like when we hang out together? Would you like to watch Attack on Titan or Sword Art Online? Because I think we could get a lot of entertainment. I was watching SAO with some friends, but we kind of moved on to... We're watching Mandalorian right now, me and my friends online. So, because my friend Edo is like... He's still cynical about Star Wars, and I'm like, no, Mandalorian's good.
Mandalorian is good.
It's very good. So we were watching.
Speaking of that, I also have to watch Bad Batch.
We were gonna watch Mandalorian last night. We watched 2 episodes, but I almost changed plans and had us watch Hercules because my friends had the nerve to say they didn't like Hercules as the film, and I'm like,
honestly, I barely remember that movie.
Oh, but it's so good. Okay, Meg from Hercules is like my favorite like Disney female. She's amazing. I love how sassy she is. She actually might have been a huge tastemaker for me in terms of the types of female characters that I like. Here, wait, let me...
Is she why you like Angelina Jolie?
Maybe. Oh my god, I think you just hit it on the head, but I just... Her song, I Won't Say I'm in Love, is just... Oh, it's so good. It's such a good song. Oh, it's like the best. No chance, no way, I won't say no. You swoon, you sigh, why deny it? Oh, it's too cliche, I won't say I'm in love. I had to look up the lyrics. I love that song so much. Yeah, I love that song so much. It's the best. I love that they were like, hey, we're gonna tell a story about like Greek gods and shit, but you know what this really needs? It needs some like R&B.
See, I'll probably never ever watch Hercules ever again in my lifetime. Not gonna lie.
We need to rewatch it together. We need to watch it together. It's so good. Danny DeVito is in it.
We have SAO to watch.
But Danny DeVito is in it.
Damn, Danny DeVito is pretty dang.
He's so dank. Okay, so God, we have so much to watch, but I really want to watch Attack on Titan.
Now you understand why I haven't watched Castlevania.
I know, but in terms of like cultural importance, I think I need to prioritize Attack on Titan for you. Because I think Attack on Titan is like an essential epic of the modern era.
Plus I'm starting to get spoiled on things. So.
Yeah, so we need to fix that right away. Because I'm not reading the manga. I might get spoiled. People talk about that ending. The manga's over.
Yeah, but the show isn't even out yet, is it?
The final season was 16 episodes, but then ended in a cliffhanger, so it's going to be like a part 2,
right,
or a movie or something like that. But yeah, Critical Spectrum. This is episode 19. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Matthew Lundeen.
Michael Biggett.
I have also been Colin Steele.
Yeah, and new episodes every Monday. New episodes every Monday, 10 a.m. Central Time. The versions that go up on YouTube will be the week afterward. 7 p.m. on a Wednesday Central
Also,
Time.
can I say we've had record-breaking view weeks for 2 weeks in a row.
Hey, keep the train going.
Keep it up, guys. Share with your friends, family, whatever, anyone you think would like this.
Grandfathers, grandmothers, great-great-grandmothers.
Exactly. We're slowly growing, guys. We just gotta keep it up.
Yep. And then again, just gonna be another shout out from last week. Comment. Please comment.
Yes, we got some comments last week. They were good.
Yeah. I enjoy seeing the comments.
It's fun interacting with our audience. So.
So I'd like to get more of that going. I wish on YouTube we could do it more, but you can't do that until you have like 1,000 subscribers.
Right.
So hey, get there, guys, for us.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have the community mode, so you can start posting stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, leave comments and
like and subscribe, smash that like button.
Yeah,
absolutely destroy.
I need you to eviscerate that like button.
Fucking destroy that like button.
Oh
all right,
God,
and then
I hate ourselves right now.
We're follow us on Twitter at the Crit Spectrum. I promise I'm going to start using that Twitter page more actively and promoting our older episodes and being like, hey, come check us out. We're poggers or some shit. I don't know. I'll post something. It'll be great.
It's pretty based.
And then the Critical Spectrum on Instagram. Links in the description as always. But thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.